Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a garden that speaks to you, not with words, but with whispers of wind through ornamental grasses, with the intoxicating perfume of jasmine drifting on an evening breeze, with the soft, velvety touch of lamb's ear beneath your fingertips. This is not some fantasy landscape. This is a sensory garden, and it might just change the way you think about every outdoor space you will ever create. We have forgotten something fundamental about gardens. Somewhere along the way, we reduced these living spaces to purely visual experiences. We scroll through photographs of perfectly manicured lawns and color-coordinated flower beds, judging them entirely by how they look. But our ancestors understood something we have lost. A garden is not a painting, it is a symphony. And today we are going to rediscover how to compose one. The concept of sensory gardening has roots stretching back thousands of years. Ancient Persian paradise gardens. The word paradise itself, derived from the Old Persian word for enclosed garden, were deliberately designed to engage every human sense. Fragrant roses and citrus trees perfumed the air. Fountains created cooling sounds and misted the skin. Fruit trees offered taste. Textured pathways stimulated touch. These were not accidents of design. They were intentional orchestrations of sensory experience. Medieval monastery gardens continued this tradition. Monks cultivated herbs not merely for medicine and cooking, but for their aromatic properties during contemplation. Lavender, rosemary, and thyme filled cloister gardens, their scents believed to aid meditation and prayer. The rustle of leaves and the songs of birds attracted by berry-bearing shrubs were considered part of the spiritual experience. And then industrialization arrived. Gardens became status symbols. Visual impact became the primary metric. We planted for curb appeal and Instagram moments. We forgot that a garden could be a place of deep, multi-sensory restoration. But here is what modern science is now confirming. What those ancient gardeners knew intuitively turns out to be neurologically profound. Research from multiple institutions demonstrates that multi-sensory natural environments reduce cortisol levels more effectively than visual-only exposure. A study published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health found that participants who engaged with gardens through multiple senses showed significantly greater stress reduction than those who simply looked at green spaces. The implications are remarkable. We have been designing gardens at a fraction of their potential healing capacity. Let us begin with scent. The olfactory system connects directly to the limbic brain, the seat of emotion and memory. This is why a single whiff of a particular flower can transport you instantly to your grandmother's garden or a childhood summer. Strategic scent planting creates what designers call fragrance corridors and scent pockets throughout a garden space. Consider the night-blooming jasmine, Cestrum nocturnum. Its fragrance intensifies after sunset, transforming evening gardens into aromatic experiences. Plant it near seating areas where you spend warm summer nights. Lavandula angustifolia, English lavender, releases its calming oils when brushed against, making it perfect for pathway borders where visitors naturally make contact. Dianthus, commonly known as pinks or carnations, carries a spicy sweet clove scent that has perfumed gardens since the Roman era. The key principle is layering scent heights. Low-growing thyme and chamomile release fragrance when stepped upon, creating aromatic pathways. Mid-height lavender and roses perfume at nose level. Climbing honeysuckle and wisteria cascade scent from above. This three-dimensional approach ensures fragrance surrounds you rather than merely existing in isolated pockets. Now let us explore touch. The tactile dimension of gardens remains tragically underutilized. Yet our skin is our largest organ, and the textures we encounter profoundly affect our nervous system. Soft, fuzzy textures tend to calm and comfort. Smooth, cool surfaces refresh and invigorate. Rough textures stimulate and engage attention. Stachys byzantina, commonly called lamb's ear, produces leaves so soft they seem almost impossible in the plant kingdom. Children and adults alike cannot resist stroking them. The plant tolerates drought, spreads readily, and creates silver-gray carpets that beg to be touched. Plant it where visitors can easily reach it without bending uncomfortably. Ornamental grasses offer an entirely different tactile vocabulary. Penistem fountain grass produces feathery plumes that brush against hands and arms with surprising gentleness. Miscanthus sinensis develops substantial presence, its leaves creating a swishing sensation when you walk past. Festuca glauca, blue fescue, forms tight mounds of fine textured blades perfect for running fingers through. Consider also the textures of bark. Platanus, the sycamore, develops mottled, smooth bark that invites palm contact. Betula, birch, offers papery layers that peel satisfyingly. Sequoia giant sequoia, produces bark so thick and spongy that pressing against it feels almost cushioned. These are experiences no photograph can capture. And now we arrive at sound. This is where sensory gardening becomes truly transformative. We live in a world of mechanical noise, traffic, machinery, electronic devices. Natural sounds activate our parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response that modern life so rarely permits. Grasses are the instruments of the wind garden. Panicum virgatum, switchgrass, creates a distinctive rustling that ranges from whispers to rushing water depending on wind strength. Miscanthus varieties produce deeper, more substantial sounds. Bamboo, planted carefully to prevent invasive spreading, generates the most complex vocabulary of any grass, with hollow culms clacking together while leaves create higher-pitched susurration. Water features need not be elaborate to contribute sound. A simple recirculating fountain creates continuous liquid music. Japanese water hammers, those bamboo tubes that periodically fill and tip, add intermittent percussive notes. Even a bird bath with a solar-powered bubbler introduces gentle water sounds without complex installation. But perhaps the most overlooked sound element is attracting wildlife. Berry-producing shrubs bring songbirds. Native wildflowers attract bees whose buzzing contributes a particular summer frequency. Leaving some seed heads through autumn invites goldfinches, whose calls add another layer to your garden soundscape. Wind chimes deserve special consideration. Unlike natural sounds, they introduce human-crafted tones. Choose them carefully. Metal tubes produce clear, sustained notes that can become overwhelming. Bamboo chimes create softer, more organic sounds. Shell chimes offer delicate clicking. Position them where moderate rather than constant wind activates them, preventing the auditory fatigue that constant sound produces. The design principle underlying all sensory gardens is intentional contrast. Fragrance becomes more noticeable after passing through scentless areas. Soft textures feel softer following rough ones. Sound gardens benefit from zones of relative quiet that make the active sound areas more impactful. This principle mirrors how music uses silence and how cuisine uses palate cleansers. Accessibility makes sensory gardens particularly valuable. For visitors with visual impairments, these spaces offer full engagement impossible in purely visual landscapes. Raised beds bring plants to comfortable reaching height. Textured pathway materials provide navigation cues through touch underfoot. Scent and sound create spatial orientation independent of sight. Therapeutic applications are expanding rapidly. Memory care facilities increasingly incorporate sensory gardens, as familiar scents trigger memories more effectively than visual cues in dementia patients. Rehabilitation centers use tactile garden experiences for fine motor recovery. Schools create sensory spaces for children with autism, providing regulated stimulation in overwhelming sensory worlds. Creating your own sensory garden does not require vast acreage or substantial budgets. A balcony container garden can incorporate fragrant herbs, textured succulents, and small ornamental grasses. A single raised bed positioned near a window can bring scent and the sound of visiting pollinators into your living space. Begin by mapping your existing space for microclimates. Where does wind flow most consistently for sound elements? Which areas receive evening sun, warming scented plants to release their oils? What surfaces already exist that could be enhanced with textural plantings? The future of gardening is not more impressive visual spectacles. It is deeper sensory engagement. It is gardens that speak to the whole human nervous system, not just the visual cortex. It is outdoor spaces that heal in ways we are only beginning to measure scientifically. Those ancient Persian gardeners, those medieval monks, they understood something we are only now rediscovering. A garden is not something you look at. It is something you experience with your entire being. Thanks for watching.